Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Entitled Parents. Story 1. My parents wants to give my sister the earrings my grandma left for me. This story is so weird. When I, 27F, was 20Y/0 I was in relationship/FWB situation with a guy, NOW40M. It was messy, we were on and off for almost 5 years. He was always clear he wasn't ready for a relationship and I was always clear I was madly in love with him. Every time I got tired of the situation and wanted to leave, somehow he convinced me to stay, because love is free, we have so much time together. He wasn't ready to commitment. I asked advice to my sister, NOW42F, and she gave me some crappy advice like made him compromise, leave Sfuff at his place and basically turn him into a boyfriend until it was too late to him to say no. I never managed to do that because I wanted him to love me as much as I loved him, not trap him. During the last night I spent at his place, he said he wanted to try something more serious with me, talked about some dates he planned, etc. Only to ghost me forever. It was hard. This was the first person I loved and he treated me like crap. 6 months passed and my sister came home. We both lived with our parents, saying she wanted to introduce her brand new boyfriend. She had have ton of boyfriends but she said this was the one. It was a dinner only with my parents at our home, so I was excluded and expected to just go out or chill in my room. The day came and while they were dining I ordered a pizza. I came downstairs only to find the guy I was with 6 months prior dining with my parents and sister. I was shocked but pay for my pizza and went to my room again to cry. After dinner was over I confronted my sister in front of our parents and begged her to not be with him. To be loyal to me, her little sister. There was no way she didn't know who he was. I had showed her pictures of him, his socials media, where he worked, and she even know where he lived. They never met because he didn't wanted to meet my family and never introduced his. But she knew who he was and she excluded me from that dinner because she knew. She said they met by chance after we stopped seeing each other. She knew how hard that rupture was, she knew how painful it was to not have even a closure. He just stopped replying, not even blocking me, just left me there wondering after 5 years. She knew that during those 6 months I was still hurting. I know how it was my fault. I was too naive and thought that if I stayed long enough he would be ready for the relationship I wanted and would learn to love me. Stupid, I know. She defended herself saying it was a coincidence and chemistry was there. She loved him and she wasn't going to lose the love of her life. This stuff only happens once in lifetime. When I was in my early 20s I would believe that. However, now I know that there are 8 billion people in this world. There's no one love of your life. You can find the love of your life multiple times if look for it. My parents sided with her and said I should get over it since we never have a real relationship. 1.5 years had passed. I've been excluded from multiple family gatherings because he would be around and my family thinks I will bring negative vibes since I'm still bitter about everything. I have no feelings for him but I feel betrayed by my sisters and my parents. He is just POS on my eyes now. My sister is now 6 months pregnant. Due her age she had been extremely pampered by my parents. She still lives at home and is going to move with him maybe 2 months after the baby is born. Then they're going to marry. In my culture is normal that if a woman gives birth moves back, or stay, with her mom so the mom will help with the baby for the first months. A week ago my sister's friends made a surprise baby shower. I happened to be at home. I tried to talk to them. I don't know why. Maybe because my sister and I were too close before and I'm sad we're not longer friends. But her friends acted like I wasn't there and only replied to me with yes, no or silence as it I was the one that created this mess. Or I was a home wrecker. Or I tried to seduce my sister's man. I was planning to move already, I was saving money, etc. But after that I left immediately to a friend's house. I'm in the process to find my own place. 2 days ago I received a call from my parents asking me to have a talk. I went to their house and they informed me that the diamond earrings my grandma left me will be given to my sisters. Those earrings have been in my family for 4 generations and before my grandma died she said the earrings will be mine and my sister will receive a gold necklace. Grandma trusted my parents with the earrings, there was no will or anything, she just asked to give it to me when I was mature enough to appreciate/take care of a family heirloom. Now my parents thinks since my sister is getting married first and is having grandma's first great-grandchild, my sister should have it. I'm really mad now, they're robbing me of something my grandma left to me. I don't think my parents are evil, I think they were toward my sister wouldn't marry due her age. Again, in my culture a single woman in her 40s is something to worry for her family, and now that she's forming a family they want to reward her with everything. But I was the closest to my grandma, she made it clear the earrings will be mine, not my sister's, not the first one to marry or have a child but mine. After 2 years of being excluded in favor of my sisters, I gave the ultimatum to my parents: they give the earrings to me as my grandma intended or I will cut them from my life forever. Not gonna lie, the idea of cutting my family off is too painful, but I feel they already made me and still makes me so wrong. I don't want them in my life anymore. I feel a little shallow fighting over this, but those are only things my granddad left to, they are not entitled to them. Story 2. Entitled Grandparents. So this isn't my family per se, but my roommate's. Recently his parental figure passed away, and was cremated. He was defined as next of kin, and due to Michigan law he was to determine who was to have the ashes. While his grandparents said they wished to have it, my roommate stated that he didn't believe his parent would want that, as they actively avoided the grandparents due to extensive emotional and mental abuse throughout their life, and stated he would keep the ashes as he is next of kin. They grumbled, but my roommate thought that was the end of it. Over the past few weeks they have called and once sent the grandfather to try and reason with my roommate, which ended with my roommate saying that his parent wouldn't have wanted to be stuck eternally with their abusive mother, and the grandfather stated something along the lines of, "Well, you are right about that." Again my roommate thought it was over. Until he went to get the paperwork for the autopsy report and found out his grandfather had been there the day before and had acquired several copies. A few days later, his grandfather delivered a note from the funeral home stating that his grandparents had come forward later and stated he was not the next of kin, and he was to release the ashes to his grandparents lest they seek legal action against him. That's what happened just this night, but even my roommate's uncle stated he was next of kin. I would also like to state the grandparents didn't pay for anything. They had my roommate or my roommate's family friends pay for everything, and up until the problem with ashes, they called him grandson and everything. He's not technically biologically related to the parent, it's an odd situation, but he was raised by the deceased, and the parent cared enough about my roommate to get his initials as a tattoo and referred to him as their child. Right now we are trying to figure out the best way to tell his grandparents to screw off, cause we don't believe they have a leg to stand on. What do you all think? TLDR, grandparents are assholes and want the parents' deceased ashes even though they had the child be the next of kin up until the conflict, and have now brought up legal action if they don't give the ashes to the grandparents. Story 3. For around 20 minutes a toddler was hitting the tip of their fork against their plate at a sit-down restaurant. The toddler wasn't simply learning how to use utensils. He wasn't trying to eat the food. He was essentially stabbing his plate with the fork over and over and over and over. The sound irked me in a similar way to nails on a chalkboard. Sometimes he'd stop for a couple of minutes and I'd relax a bit, but then he'd start again. This actually triggered a pretty bad headache for my friend. The mom did not care whatsoever. Someone at my table politely asked if someone could take the fork away from the toddler and she said that he'd cry if she took it away. We then overheard her talking about how ridiculous some people were about children in public spaces. Now, this wasn't an extremely quiet and expensive restaurant, but it was still a sit-down restaurant, not McDonald's or a super loud place. The biggest mystery to me is how the noise didn't hurt any of the moms at the other table. It was a group of 3 moms and their kids. Also the other kids at the table were loud and misbehaving too, but they didn't bother us. Edit. Here is a link to a video where you can hear the banging. We only filmed for a second because we didn't want them to see we were recording. Also, the video isn't anywhere near as annoying. The noise was in real life. https://imgur.com/a/c8fvdxk. Story 4. Entitled parent creates school for her own kids. I recently graduated from high school. For my final 2 years of schooling, I attended this new funny cottage school that recently opened up in my town. My family couldn't afford my previous school's fees, so I transferred to the new school. We'll call it Silver Spoon School. The school was run by a family that recently moved down from out of town and had enrolled their own kids into their new school. The school was, and still is, as of the time of me posting this, illegal. Blah blah blah, legal stuff and registrations, whatever. Myself and 6 other students were in grade 11 when all this entitlement started to show. Now there were only 2 girls in my grade, me and the principal's, who we'll call redacted, daughter, who we'll call SS, and I became good friends and I even introduced her to my friends from my previous school. She was a year younger than me and unsocialized / a little immature for her age. The first school year was amazing, because it was relaxed. No uniforms, like 5 kids a grade, so chill for a little anxious kid like myself. I mean, we were barely a high school. Then out of the blue, Redacted decided to create a little hierarchy system, prefects, head boy and head girl, a super common system where I live but not for small cottage schools like Silver Spoon School. Redacted cemented that the votes would be casted via a Google form and the winner was based on popularity. For context, I've lived in this town for my whole life and knew everyone in my little school, and I found myself the most popular amongst the younger grades. To be fair, I used to VP with them in the bathrooms and stuff. So I assumed I would win the popular vote, especially since S had just moved down and barely spoke a word to the kids outside our grade. After the voting, I was told that all the students voted me into head girl, so I was chilling with the notion that I was gonna be head girl, not that it was something I was dying to achieve. Well, cut to like a month later and we're doing this little ceremony and the head girl was S, the principal's daughter. It was so weird, considering Redacted said it was a popularity vote, line number 1 lol. Ceremony was a bust and so many students came up to me confessing that nobody voted for S, only her own mother and her younger brother. Strange, but S and I continued to be friends up until the start of this year, grade 12. For more context, we were the first grade 11 class and grade 12 class at Silver Spoon School, so this is our second year of being the oldest grade. I'll save more of the lies and illegalities of my grade 12 year, but it was horrible. Throughout grade 12, S was allowed to go back and fix mistakes on her tests to increase her marks if her mum, Redacted, thought they were too low. Highly immoral since grade 12 curriculums are super strict about that stuff. Redacted was also our English teacher, so S always got insight on tests and internal exams as well as free support lessons from staff because her mother was the principal. She even had her marks altered so she would always be top of the class, and I know this because I've seen her marks. She's not very clever, she literally failed 2 subjects. The top of the grade was me, I had the highest marks, which isn't saying much because we were a class of 7 lol. Anyway, I just don't see how 2 failed subjects, I think a pass is like 40%, can get you to top in the grade. I'm salty, I know. You see, S wants to be a vet and her mum will do anything to make her university presentable on paper. Luckily all our final exams are external, so what really matters at the end of the year won't be tampered with. Spoilers, we saw one of our final exams, low that we wrote in September, I got an 80%, highest mark, and she got like a 47. If you're familiar with SA final exams, then you know that you finish low in the 3rd term, so that's why it's the only exam final mark we've seen thus far. That is where the entitlement ends though, because S is redoing her grade 12 online under a different syllabus. Good luck with being a vet, let's see how far mommy's manipulation can take you in the real world, like her high school experience was handed to her on a silver spoon, now that's entitlement. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.